Okay, I may be talking just for myself, but I think the wait was worth it. So, after quite literally years, the new Skarner was revealed. And he should arrive on PBE today. Which is quite a milestone because Skarner's road was quite a bumpy one. He was in development throughout Riot's restructuring, by which I mean both the freezing of many aspects of League of Legends, including its lore, which happened in 2022 and 23, and he was being developed throughout all the layoffs. Of course, over time he was being teased in all the different dev posts, and in one of them he got a really awesome piece of art which really teased his direction. According to that one, he would be a massive protector of Ishtal, and he would even be linked to the very foundation of the entire region. Which also means he lived through all the good times and the bad times. Now, the original art showed us that he's big. I mean, those are people in front of him. But as to how big he actually is now, he's titanic! Like, Malphite level of kaiju. Which is funny because they are technically both from Ishtal. I don't think that tiny region could contain those giants. Anyway, it's awesome, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. You see, before Skarner popped up and all the gameplay was revealed, he was teased on League's social media the day before. It was a simple image, akin to what a champion would get if they get a color story. Surely we will get one for Skarner. Right? After which the social media manager had a bit of a giggle, as very soon after that they changed their banners. And the world was glorious for a moment. But of course, to learn a bit more about the joke, given its nature, the Queens of League came in for a rescue. No, not with that. No, not that one either. No, they got in contact with the intern responsible for this joke, so they could get the full image of the banner. And they learned that it wasn't actually an intern, so Riot had just a bit of a giggle. But right after that, the full Skarner revealed was pushed out. And oh boy, is it an awesome one. Skarner was literally turned from a depressed Pokemon into a titanic protector of humanity. And we even got his short in-game bio. The ancient Brackern Skarner is revealed in Ishtal as one of the founding members of the ruling castle, the Yuntal, and is devoted to keeping Ishtal safe from the rest of the world by maintaining the region's isolation. As more members of the Yuntal begin to question this decision, Skarner grows increasingly paranoid and will do anything to keep Ishtal and its people safe, no matter the cost. So, very long story short, Skarner is protecting Ishtal from the outside influences after everyone got paranoid about the outside world after the Void literally destroyed an entire region right next to them. So everyone decided to build giant walls of plants to isolate the entire region, and very recently Kiana pushed for the idea of perhaps exploring the outside world. And as we can see, Skarner will probably not like that. Also, Skarner got a really cool quote that is teasing his story. I am the first Yuntal, and I will be the last. Again, it sounds awesome and I can't wait for his full voice lines. But enough with all the teasers, including potential teasers of his lore, and let's have a look at his gameplay. Because to many people, that might be the most important part. So first of all, the King of 2016 is back. He got a 3-hit passive. I mean, sure, it makes sense, he does have 3 tails. But this time the passive is not a burst, it is a poison that is based on maximum health. Now, because Skarner gets an entire new ability for his E, they had to shove his old E into his Q to make sure that Skarner still has the same feeling. So yes, Skarner is not losing anything and his identity should be the same. So his new Q rips out a boulder, which empowers his next 3 attacks, and on the 3rd attack he slams the boulder down, which slows the enemies and explodes in AoE damage. You know, kinda like the AoE damage of his old Q. The funny thing is that as he slams the boulder down, it also applies the 3rd hit from his passive, which is the poison, so quite literally, the boulder gets toxic too. And to make sure Skarner also gets his old E, they made it so you can recast the Q at any point to throw the boulder. Which of course deals the same damage it normally would, and it also slows the enemy. So there is no benefit in hitting twice and then throwing the boulder. You might as well just let the third attack go through. Now his W remained more or less the same. It is a shield that also slows enemies around you. However, it doesn't give you speed anymore, but on the other side, it also deals a little bit of damage. Also notice that the range of the slow is quite big now. And then we have his E, which is just an entirely new ability. He pretty much gets a Scion ultimate that goes through walls. And while he's running, he can pick up enemies and pin them to a wall. But keep in mind that after you pick up an enemy, you really have only a very short distance to pin them to a wall. So unless they are already standing close to it, it is unlikely you can pull it off. And yes, just as it happens with Kain, when Skarner is going for you, there should be an indicator near the wall showing you that Skarner is going for you. And finally, his ultimate got a big upgrade. It is now AoE. But that also means that it is a skill shot now. The thing is, because it is a skill shot, you can do some creative things with it. For example, you can now use it as a blitzcrank hook and grab people over walls. But to keep it all within the realm of balance, you can't cast any abilities or flash while you are dragging people. But that's pretty much for his kit. It should be an upgrade in pretty much every regard. But at the same time, his kit is very close to his old version. So I don't think many people will be too mad about it. Even the biggest old school fans of Skarner might find the new one interesting. Also, I find it cool that Riot is previewing all Skarner's abilities on the Voidborn. You know, because of the links to Icathia. Not to mention that they are using the Ishtali Axiomata as an indicator for his ultimate. That is such a cool lore detail. Now another thing I wanted to point out is that the sound design is crazy. If you just sit back and listen to what he's doing, you can really feel the boulder slamming down and the rumbling of earth as he's moving around. It really sells you the Titanic vibes. And yes, connected to that, the splash arts are crazy. As I said before, the base one is awesome. I mean, look at Skarner's size. Not only is that Aijaokan, the capital city of Ishtal, in the background, but those are the massive trees from the jungles of Ishtal. They are just specks of dust to Skarner. Like, holy crap, would I love to see Skarner in a battle against the Void. That's like bringing down a mech in the Warhammer universe. Aijaokan should have been built on his back. But what's awesome is that the art of his skins got a lot cooler too. At least, besides the Galactic one and the Guardian of Sands, those are pretty much the same. But the old Sand Scourge became part of the High Noon universe, so of course he was turned into a massive demon, and the Earthrune Skarner became really awesome too. It just feels a lot more elemental. And apparently the upgrade is not just when it comes to the splash art. The entire skin should be higher quality. Which is why Riot announced that when this skin comes out, or rather when the VGU comes out, the price of the Earthrune skin will be brought up from 520 RP to 750 RP. Which means that if you like it, and if you buy it now, it will be technically cheaper. Now, while that is it for the reveal of Skarner, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about, which teases why it took so long for Skarner to come out. Apparently, the old version of Skarner was somehow linked to the core code of League of Legends. For example, what likely happened is that some newer champions referenced pieces of Skarner's code instead of rewriting it. And by doing so, they kept the size of the game smaller. However, this also meant that if you remove the old Skarner from the game, a lot of the code breaks. Now, we don't know exactly what happened here, we can only guess, but it is likely that making the new Skarner was not the problem. It might have been the removal of the old Skarner, which is where they ran into some unexpected obstacles. So the old Skarner was really just glue holding the spaghetti together. But that's pretty much it for the reveal. Honestly, all of this is so good. The gameplay feels solid, the vibes seem to be nailed, and it seems like he's gonna become a badass part of the universe. So I really hope the story is good too, because we don't get too much of it these days. And yeah, the last thing we should be hoping for is that the voice line delivery is awesome too. Because if all the puzzle pieces fall into place, we might have another banger on our hands. And throughout all of this, I realized they made Skarner massive so he can fight Cho'Gath's VGU one day, right?